Welcome to the JSong special. We are doing a special tutorial day. We're going to be covering some advanced techniques. And I'm going to use this moment to, again, treat you guys like a guinea pig and as being a teacher. So I'm learning from my own type of feedback and apprenticeship, so to speak, as being a teacher. I notice that I say things often like, I don't want you don't really need to label stuff. In the beginning, you do. And then there's a lot of thoughts that go into the baking process. And when people are showing up in my tutorials and they're watching my charts, generally what they're doing is they're trying to get inside my mind and they're trying to understand what is it I'm doing? Why do I do the things the way I do them? And to continue with those thoughts, what I'm doing is I'm going to be putting all of this stuff in the manuscript, the ways that I do them, the warnings, the dangers, the safety, for things for me are almost second nature because I've been doing it so long, doing this art. And I think we're going on almost our fourth year and we're getting advanced. When I first started trying to write the book, I came up with better ways of explaining. And over the years, we plateaued around a certain way and very little change has been made in the way of our art. So with that being said, what I'm doing is putting all those intricacies of all the times that I do these teachings, I'm putting them now in ways that you can understand for our book and for our art. But more than that, I'm learning what things I'm missing, and that's to give you guys an in-depth look behind the scenes of those thoughts, those processes. What is happening here? Why are we doing this? What is this line? What is the name of that line? Why am I got to think like this? So instead of having to try to just wrap your mind around everything, I'm getting better at simplifying so that you can approach a chart, even as such as a 5-second chart, and start really building from there an advanced chart. So we're going to be doing that one today. This is Bitcoin. This is a 5-second chart of Bitcoin. We're about to get into it. Now, I do have one other announcement to make. I've been considering the Forex room that we've been doing, and I love the fact that I can break apart Forex pairs into two different pieces and isolate them. But the options that are available for us currently are like binary options, and there's different types of binary options exchanges, and I've been playing with different ones. The binary options exchanges that they have primarily in the United States that's regulated is NADEX. NADEX recently got bought out by Crypto.com, and the interface is really only for a phone. Even on your iPad, it's like a small thing, and it's hard to go back and forth. So you need like a phone separate off to the side to do it, and you don't have full control over the strike price. So it's better than you don't really have control over that strike price that you can on certain apps. There are other exchanges that do things like, I think it's like Everest Exchange, and they have an app and they have strike prices you can. But as I'm doing further research and I'm looking behind the psychology of it, and I'm also looking into the actual logistics of it. For the logistics part, most of the data that's available in our testing was OTC data. So it'll be like Euro USD OTC, over the counter, Euro JPY, and they have lots of options, which is perfect. NADEX doesn't have lots of options. NADEX has 4 main pairs, and sometimes I may not see the health on USD. I see the health on like maybe the JPY, and I need to combine it with the weakness on the GBP. So that would be the JPY GBPs I need to trade, and I can't trade that one. So sometimes both Euro and USD are going in the same direction. There's no trade, price levels out, or the only trades that are available are more high risk. We like to have high reward, low risk type of entries for lots of trade. So the better options are like something like the Everest Exchange and the different ones that they have that are not on the website, but like on the app. The other thing is about the OTC data, though, over the counter, is it's dangerous. Over the counter, I was asking Grok questions on the AI, and I asked about the question, is the OTC data unique to each exchange, or is there a standard place on which that data is pulled? And that data is not pulled from a central exchange. It's more like the house's data. Imagine going to a casino where the house controls all the payouts. So that's how digital slot machines work in Las Vegas now. They determine how often they get paid out. Now they have to meet a certain quota to get paid out, but some of these exchanges that are unregulated have similar structures. They basically can manipulate the data. So if you buy at this price and you're saying, hey, I bet in 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 15 seconds, price is going to be lower or higher than this number. What they can do is they can actually manipulate the number to prevent you from actually winning, even if you're correct. And that's a bad thing if you win too much. And other people have reported, not necessarily on that exchange, but they've reported that they were not able to withdraw their winnings, even when they were really right. And so that's part of the logistics, and that's very concerning right now. Some of the better things is to either wait for a time in the future until there's more options that are available to us. The market is free from a lot of manipulation, which is supposed to come in the next 3-5 years, something above there. After all, a lot of exposure, money stuff, gold standards. If those all happen before 2030, that might be something in the future for us. Another option is to trade just directly the trades themselves. And so for that, we're going to need some types of exchanges. And that's something you can do. But then we're going to be going into more of the micro stuff for trading. If we're going to be doing intraday stuff, we're going to be looking micro. So I was going in those directions for all of you, and I was saying, okay, still we need to have some viable exchanges for Forex. And ultimately, I just didn't have peace about it at this moment. I didn't have peace about that kind of thing for you guys, because the logistics of the psychology of the binary options, it's basically like liquid crack. Okay, and what that means is that it's very addicting and it's very dangerous. You have to be good. You have to be really good at it. I was like, man, I'm flying off the seat of my pants. And some of this it's really hard to keep track of all the movements, especially when you're like, every 5 seconds there's a candle, every 10 seconds there's a candle. And we can do the larger stuff, that's fine. I still have my concerns about the manipulation, but I thought to myself, like, wow, like I'm losing. It's better if I can't find that data for Forex, then I have to do something like on crypto. And if I have to do something on crypto, then I lose the ability to break it apart. And if I'm going to be doing any kind of, the whole goal, I thought about the goal for Forex Room. The Forex Room was to mostly have a day or sessions when we can intraday trade. Okay, intraday trade. All right, that's to teach you guys intraday trading. And that leads me back to my main goals, right? My main goal is teach you to intraday trade. And people often ask me, JSong, what's the strategy for intraday trading? And I tell everybody it's the same thing. It is trading the same art that we do, but on a very micro scale. And so with that said, I thought to myself, what's the best way to go about that? And to teach you guys this kind of thing. And I thought that the best way that I can do is to break down our method in full with special guides that are going to be included in these type of guides are going to be included in our monthly reports. We're going to break down charts just using this. So this is where not a normal chart room where we're just doing requests. No, we're focusing on the actual stuff, the meat and potatoes, so that you guys get what you need from these types of education. Because what I'm doing is I'm not putting on fancy indicators. What I'm doing is I'm not putting on some kind of AI or anything. What I'm doing is I'm teaching you how to fly by the seat of your pants, like the classic pilots. When they would go up and they had only a few instruments, that's all they really needed. They didn't have all these advanced tools, but they didn't. Some of the old masters would just be able to sit down with a brush and get things done. In ChartRoom, what's going to be happening is you guys are going to be billionaires and millionaires. And it's not enough for you to just say, hey, JSong, is this crypto going up? Is this crypto going down? What you need is to walk away with on-your-seat education so that you cannot be diminished by the newest fancy indicators. And there's always a fancy indicators. That you can't be whipsawed and you'll be the first to know when something's going wrong. There's a lot of indicators, there's a lot of moving averages on the board, but I want to give you a basic good sense of how to read what's happening as it's happening to respond in appropriate ways that you should. What I want to make sure I leave you with as part of my legacy, an education. Something that you can do to fly by the seat of your pants when you need to. When you have all the internet gurus telling you buy and you should be looking to sell, or when everyone's telling you should sell it and you should actually be looking to buy it. When health is coming in, when health is coming out. When things are going right and when things are going wrong. So you can catch the truth before it's time. And how to think and navigate those situations. If you know there's only profit from here to there, the opportunity that's available and when things get dangerous again. You're going to be able to read these kinds of things in real life. And that's my whole goal for what we're going to be doing with the specials and with my reports and in the upcoming quick guide and the larger book that is going to be releasing. So with that being said, are you guys ready? Are you excited? You guys got notes? Unmute your microphone. You're going to draw quick little sketches and you're going to write some of these concepts. Okay? The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the first of this image. Okay, so we're going to start here. I think this is the best place to start, and we're going to go through these series of images. This is the same chart, and we're going to do the strategy. This is an analysis of a second chart, a 5-second chart for Bitcoin. 2023, January 23, 2026, from 11:36 a.m. to 12:28 p.m. Universal Standard Time. So this is today. All right, this is the time down there. Okay, you guys can see it's about 11:35 at the start of this chart. Okay, and we're going to cover all the way to about 12:28. So this is about almost an hour worth of 5-second charts. That means every 5 seconds, there's another candle that is formed. Every 5 seconds. That's not 5 seconds, it's 1 second. To show that this art can be applied to give higher confidence, even on often smallest time frames. Okay, so this report is to give you a type of guide on how you can see the principles that we're doing in our art applied even on some of the smallest time frames. 5 seconds. Who's doing a 5-second chart? But I'm going to show you some of these principles at work. All right, so we can see it. All right, so the first thing I wrote down is to some of these guides. I'm going to give you some new concepts, as well as we're going to do some new color coding. So I hope you guys stay with me. The first thing I wrote down here is we can see that we have such and such data. So I wrote down a foundational key area. I gave it a label, area A, okay? So if I have lots of foundational areas or phantoms that I need to reference, I can just reference the label. In this new series, I am going to be labeling almost everything for you guys. So I'm going to be labeling a lot. I'm going to be labeling when I have to go pee. I'm going to put JSong has to go pee. I'm going to label everything, guys. I'm going to label the cat. All right. And the dog. Here we go. Here is the top, the actual top. And here's a wick top. Okay. Now, of this type of move, you could use the core, but when I saw this peak, the way I drew it was to try to get as close to those. So I drew that as a foundational key area. The next, on this 5 chart, I placed that at the lowest energy center in this area. The lowest energy center is approximately here without going over the core. Sorry, here without going over the core. So the core area is about right there, and that's where I drew this foundational area. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so right there. Now, I have a confirmation when I place this here. So what I did, again, I drew this line, I duplicated the line, and I brought it to the lowest energy center in the area, and that is right here. And I put a little C to mark that is the center of the energy. What I mean by that is the center of this area here. Okay, we're gonna go slow, so don't you worry. Next, we can see that price comes up and sits back down here. So this is going to confirm this foundational area that I drew in green, foundational area A. But I labeled it phantom because it's a ghost angle, meaning I didn't just draw this angle. Now I could, in hindsight, but I only drew from here. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me a verification. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could write down the word on here. And I usually do with pink pen or purple, I can write verification. Okay, that's not how you write it. Okay, so that's going to be a verification. And that tells me that the angle from here to here is correct. And again, I want to be thinking as close as I can to many other confirmations. You're not going to hit them all exactly. The goal is to get very close, especially with smaller time frames and certain cryptos that have high volatility. You want to give them a more wiggle room. So this is what I did here. Again, we're getting behind my thoughts, on how I created all of these and labeling so you can understand what we're looking for. So this line is a duplicate of the key angle. Duplicate. Okay. So we call it a phantom. That's not, okay. Now, when I had that phantom, I placed it here, and this was a verification right there. Okay. So we can call this, if I wanted to, verification. Verification stresses the importance of an oscillation, meaning if price is playing between that area, I'm putting a lot of weight and importance on that area. And I already know just by having all of that, that when price goes below those areas, I need to pay attention because something has gone wrong. People often try to just buy the low and they buy the dip without checking for a lot of stuff. And we're going to be talking about how to not catch a falling knife. This is why I often warn people that when everybody else is screaming, no, it's the time, it's the perfect time. And I'm like, oh, not so fast, because we look for other clues within that oscillation, which we're going to talk about. Your job for right now as a student of this art is to practice, and you'll always be a student your whole life, just as I am, is to practice drawing some of these foundational areas. Okay, they're going to be the important, biggest areas and the important oscillations. And the goal with sword method is to chop prices into these smaller oscillations and to see the trends breaking in real time. So I wrote that and I gave you that foundational area. The energy centers I leveled with the C, the center of this energy, the center of that energy, center of the top. All right, so now I know when a big weakness should enter in, and it does approximately here on this chart, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Next, let's draw. As we're going up, I notice that we accelerate here in a little bit of faster way. We just start making new highs past the old highs, and we start accelerating higher really fast without even coming back to the bottom all the way to the phantom right here. So this line I drew for you guys is this dotted red line here. And it could be green, it could be red. It probably is more appropriate green, but I labeled it foundational, FA.AAL. Foundational line or foundational area. Foundational, and then the A is going to stand for the A for the oscillation. So if this oscillation is oscillation A, like oscillation A, B, C, D, we can put foundation.A.B.C. whatever level. Okay, and you could think of these like key angles from our previous versions of sword method. So as we're accelerating back up, we can take note of that acceleration. The reason we're going to take note of this accelerated adjustment line, and that's what AAL is. So we have foundational area, A, accelerated adjustment line. As we're accelerating, we start adjusting going up, and I labeled this foundational line A, accelerated adjustments. Foundational line, again, the oscillation A. Line A, and then accelerated adjustment tells me when the first clue of weakness is coming in. If you're drawing foundational areas and your acceleration adjustment lines within those areas, it will be the first clues that something is going wrong. On this chart now, can anybody tell me where there may be another clue that weakness was coming in? The information you need is on this page. Can anyone tell me where there is more weakness coming in? I labeled this weakness here, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But can somebody tell me where there's another weakness that may come in? 10 seconds. We're talking about the green line, not the pink. This is a little messy, but you can draw it pretty much this. If you need to be super exact, you can. But for the most part, this is as long as you're getting in the general area, especially on a 5-second chart. Remember, this is only 5 seconds. So 5, like you count to 15 and that move is done. You want to think general, which we're going to talk about in the noise area anyway when we get to essence, energy centers, in just a few moments. Okay, does that answer your question? You could be very exact if you need to. Generally, it's in the cores, but you need to understand if you can line up the wicks and you can line up the cores, go where you can. For example, see how the picks up here? So I want to be thinking more there. Okay. And I'm going to clarify that in just a few more moments anyway. Yep, no problem. Can anyone spot the next weakness even sooner than this weakness appears here, which we're going to talk about in just a moment? Okay. Can anybody spot? I'll give you the answer. 10 seconds on the board, please. Take a screenshot if you don't know the answer so you can practice later on. The more you do it, the more you're going to see it. Camino drew maybe a flat here. That could be one. That's a great answer. There's another one. Oh, good job, Toya. Toya got the answer I was looking for. We thinking and remembering foundations. The big takeaway from our art, the biggest takeaway that if somebody was not going to learn anything is foundations. If you only learn one thing, if I'm drawing this acceleration, I actually have another AAL here, which is just accelerated adjustment line. And I can continue that, and it lets me know an even smaller weakness begins here. So if I wanted to, that could be an AAL. And you can label them. You can label them 1, 2. It doesn't have to go in order, but you can. These are all the accelerations. So they show a smaller weakness here and a larger weakness here. Okay. So that's something you can look at if you need to. All right, got it? Okay, so we still know that the larger oscillations is in play. I have these smaller energy centers here. I may thinking to myself, if I'm in a short, the strategy is only short time frames because I may get a bounce at those areas. Now remember, I didn't draw this from here. I drew this foundational area from here back then, you know, where that line continues. This is also a type of verification and helps us confirm the weaknesses when we see them, okay? So this is just a little something else. You can see that in 5 seconds, we bounce on that line. Okay, remember, we're covering a 5-second chart, okay? So that is one clue if you were looking for that, because I didn't draw everything on this chart. Again, it's only 5 seconds. You have to be very quick, but I paused it, took a screenshot, and was trying to break down the biggest stuff for you guys. Next, we're going to draw that. We're going to talk about this weakness. I wrote weakness number 1, local AL, which is accelerated adjustment line. Price has entered a weak area. The foundational bullish health in the area is still in play. So at that moment, when that first weakness, when weakness number 1 came in, the bullish area was still in play. So I got to be thinking only bullish, really. If I'm in a bullish trade, what am I doing here at this moment? What's possibly a strategy I could be doing at that moment? What do you guys think? Yes, we may want to short exit some of our bullish positions and see if we can buy back lower. That might be a perfect strategy. That's going to save us a lot of money. Okay, you guys are saying, what's the price? This is a 5-check-in chart. Really? We could go over the prices. I had price labels and I delete them all because the structure is the most important. I always say this. I don't care about price. I care about the structure. The price can be big. It can be small. It can be on a 5-second chart. If the structures are telling me one thing, I'm paying attention. Okay, so I wrote this. Bearish strategies. Look for short-term local shorts only. And that means local by something recent. I'm only looking shorting for short term. So if I am shorting this and I'm taking a bet that price will fall, I got to be looking for my exit. Where might my exit be? Where my exit might be on my foundational area. That might be one, that green one. Okay, I might be looking to exit there for a trade. I can also be looking for another area, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So down, look for short-term local shorts only, down towards flats or targets or other supports. Take some profit on local bullish positions by exiting. Pay attention to foundational line or the targets and essence supports like gesture or essence support. Bullish strategy. Hunt the down move by drawing the foundational down area and wait for a bullish trade. If I'm in this area and I'm looking to continue to be bullish and weakness happens, I'm going to draw some of those foundational moves and see if I can wait for price to come back in health. okay? So I can draw and I can continue waiting. But once the weakness happens, we got to draw and hunt those areas. In an uptrend, we generally hunt the down move to come back in health, and then we can take trades. So in that case, we're just only waiting. We hunt by watching, like the wolves. What do they do? For 40 days and 40 nights, they're out there. I watched them in the documentary, and every day they're hounding the bison. They're hunting the bison. They're waiting for someone to make a mistake. They're looking for the weakness. They're studying for their opportunity. That's what they do. They basically sit on their hands. Sometimes they chomp and test, and the professionals, they do something like that with up thrust and down thrust and volume. But for you guys, you're still learning. We're not, unless you have a many $1,000,000 traders here, you guys are going to be, for the most part, just waiting on your hand until something good happens, a health appears. But right now, a weakness happens, so we're only looking bearish. All right, let's continue. Now, since that was the first weakness, I'm going to be looking for something else. This new thing I'm going to be labeling. It's a new type of technique. It's in the category of gesture. Gesture is we'll do gesture first. Actually, I'll do gesture first. You guys know from my gesture tutorial that when you see movement in price upward or downward, we like to, even sideways really, we like to do a simple art technique that is found called gesture drawing. And what they do is they simplify the human form or a figure or animal to basic shapes. We simplify in this art using gesture to a very simple thing, and we do it like this. It is just that. It's just a flow of the up movement. And when we have that, and I already did it on the chart, it's from here, this line, to here. We do it in orange. So the color we use is orange. And then what I do, I take that angle and I duplicate the angle and I place it at the top energy centers, either this one or that one. I'm trying to minimize the noise by doing this technique, okay? And when we place it at the median, especially if you have round structure, you can use those round structures. This is why I make the decisions like I do. I see this round structure here, so I'm going to be using that area primarily for the gesture, okay? So this is a good place to do that gesture. And then with that gesture, what just happened? Where's all my colors? Oh, there they are. I'm looking at them. With that gesture, we take the same curvature, we just basically duplicate it. So if this was my line, and I duplicated it, it would look like this. We move it straight up and click it in place. From here, we get another type of miniature oscillation. We get price moving approximately about this far, and I'm going to draw it for you so you guys have it. Price moving about that far from our original gesture line. Okay. Ooh, I like this new crayon. It's nice. So we get this price moving about from here to here. What we're going to do is duplicate that distance by moving that line down the same distance as the top. If you measured it, it's great. If not, you can just draw what I draw. Something like this, if you're doing by hand or by the marker in TradingView. What we're going to do is we just bring it straight down 50%. What that will do is that will give us an equal distance from the top to the bottom, and we should be looking for at least one verification, okay? And what I did in this example is I took the same line and we bring it down 50%. So now we have an oscillation based on the gesture, the larger move from the top to the bottom, 50%. In this case, I can actually see that I have a built-in verification. So using our simple art, we can see that price just happened to hit 50% here, the other 50%. So I have 50% on top and 50% on bottom, just by drawing the center line. And that means that my line is, for the most part, correct. Now, you need a verification. You generally need at least one for you to really use this technique, because all of this is in hindsight. So you're saying it's supposed to be there, JSong. If it wasn't, the gesture wouldn't have been able to be drawn. Correct. You're using this so you can catch the next main weakness. When price enters this territory, something is wrong. Another weakness has entered. In this case, what I gave you was weakness number 2. Price has entered a weak area. Essence, phantom, broken. Now this is actually gesture and essence, so it should say gesture and essence, which we're going to talk about gesture and essence in just a moment. So this is an example right here of the gesture line. Okay, so we have now a new technique. You guys all know gesture. If you guys want more on gesture, see my tutorials on the tutorial section, and you're going to type in gesture, or go to the tutorial, type in lessons on the lessons page, and then scroll down and look for the one that's titled gesture. It's part of our 6.0 series, so you will get more information about that. So I'm going to introduce a new technique called essence. Essence, like gesture, is designed to give you an oscillation minus the noise, especially on 5-second charts where things can get really noisy. You need to cover the major stuff, but you'll have to cut through the noise. Now we still got our foundational areas, we still got the exact areas, but now we can be a little bit more flexible. Okay, now we can be a little bit more artistic. Here's what I see in the data. I see a large round structure, and this is possibly the noise. The real meat part of that energy is actually here. And I'm going to be calling this the essence of the move, or the essence energy center. Does that make sense? This is the center of the essence, right about there. What do you think? Does it help? Let's take a look at the top side. I got all this wick in here, but I also see that this provided a good area, and I just came up in here. So if I were to simplify this, I'm going to be just using maybe that area. And so therefore, I'm left with the essence of these areas. Does that make sense? These are the essence, and it's an angle. It's not exactly that green angle we draw, but it is an average, because all moving averages and averages of angles are oscillations, are just averages of people's emotions. So we need to calculate that in a very simple and simplistic way. From now on, we're going to be using this pink type of color to, not that pink, the same color pink in this image. I just lost my pink color. Man, what happened to my pink color? That one. Good. We're going to be using this pink color to track the image, the gesture, okay? So, with that being said, let me hold on first. I need to add this color to my favorites. I don't know how I lost it. Add. Good. I like that color. So this is why in my report here, I give you guys this essence. So you can practice that. Now, if we have an angle, therefore, that's something like this, then what we're going to do next is we're going to need to connect the line, and we're going to place it at the lowest energy centers. Now, I already put the image on for you. I called it the energy center essence. General weakness appears below this area. The lowest energy center along this angle is actually there. Okay, so that's how we're going to draw the essence. It's actually there. Now, I don't know why I don't have this right now, but earlier in my art, I did have an image, maybe I still have it, that has an extra C on there. I took it earlier when I was doing this report. Okay, so this is going to give us an energy center that's like this. And now we have more confirmation when we're looking for the weakness. Okay, it's going to be underneath that angle. Now, if we wanted to, all we could simply do is just take the angle and duplicate the angle. I can clone it on my little Apple Photos by clicking clone and duplicate. But you can also just eyeball it. Okay, on TradingView, the actual app, it's much easier. So now we're left with something like that. And it reveals weakness number 2. So price, the essence phantom is broken. So now I could have also wrote essence and gesture. They both are the artistic oscillation, and they let me know when something's going wrong. Okay, so now let's clear up this chart so you guys have that, so you can practice that. Okay, I will take another screenshot of this essence. Okay, we ready to move on? Now, let's build up a little more this chart, or go more over the report. We cut through the noise, we cut through a lot of things. Now, so we have energy centers, and finally, we got a flat at the bottom. The noise, the basic core is somewhere around here. And I brought the flat, I did bring it a little lower. You could raise it up just a little bit higher to connect those two, but for the most part, this is a flat. I gave it a label, flat area A. So now we drew this essence, and I drew a marker for my scene, a marker for bearishness. Foundational weakness appears below this line. It is at these points when you can draw, approximate here, you can draw that weakness and slide it up along the track. This would be a dynamic positive number. Dynamic positive means the numbers go higher as time goes on. So we would be looking, as soon as we got the essence, we can draw this weakness here. You could also draw the weakness underneath the phantom here, and you can draw a weakness underneath the flat. We know all of those weaknesses, and we can see them on the board when price starts to enter those territories. So what are we left with so far? We're left with our first weakness. There's a bonus weakness I gave you guys in the tutorial. You guys, some of you caught it. Good. So that was weakness number 1, 2, or this is 1, and then this would be 2, depending on how much weakness you caught. For us, the charts happen in slow motion. Now, this should be a support area. Right here, we bounce just slightly, come back down, and the weakness appears. This is a main weakness. This is main because our foundational area is broken. Weakness number 3, I labeled it. Price has entered a weak area, foundational area A broken. So that's going to be A, the bottom, the part, the phantom, and price starts entering here approximately at that time. When price comes down here, remind you this is a 5-second chart, but this still works. Our whole method still works. The sword cut was created, and it's just a flat orange line, and I labeled it SC for sword cut. We can see price comes back up, and the next foundational line that was here was broken. So there's a health here. Now we're going to talk about this. Okay. I labeled it this, bearish delay territory. I talk about this all the time in our chart room. Bearish delay territory means price moved into its local or recent health, but the large bearish weakness is still in from the foundational area A being broken, is still in play. I'll say that again. Large bearish weakness in from foundational A being broken is still in play. And the sword cut is also in play. So there's a local health. We beat above this next foundational line. We could draw that line from 90,387. Comes down. And if we're just drawing straight, we could draw that and say, hey, that is a health though. And you'll be right. That is a health. But it's also a weakness. So how do we manage that? If we see two conflicting interests, I see price moving into health, but I see price looking into weakness. One of the strategies what we can apply is to look what's bigger. Okay? Let's just look at it logically for just a moment. Which is bigger? I have a move from here to here. Okay? In time. But I also have a move from way back here to here. This is how we would ideally want to look at a situation like this. Which one's stronger? The local health, in this case. Oops. Oh, that's an image. I'm like, why is this working? The local health or the larger bearish weakness that's still in play. So that larger bearish weakness is here. So we want to be thinking to ourselves, this may be healthy, but overall, we're still got to worry about the bearish. And I'm going to say that this bearish is a lot stronger than this local health, which is here. Okay, so price being above this line, but underneath there is like being a rock in a hard place. Okay, or you didn't fully win the game. It's basically something like this. Yep, that's probably a perfect way to draw this. Okay, this is stronger. The weakness is stronger. Weakness is still in play. And we have to be realistic about those kinds of things, because sometimes we'll enter a trade and not look to see the larger weaknesses still in play. So this is why, at the very least, we want to label it for what it is. It's a delay. It's bullish health, but with weakness in the background. So it's going to be more bearish. So I put the word bearish delay. The down move is in, but the down move is being delayed by the local health. Okay? So I draw that. The strategy might be to this. Wait until price moves above the event line phantom to confirm bullish behavior. Draw previous lows or core lows and wait for price to move below those areas to confirm further weaknesses and bearish entries. Now, how does that work? Take a screenshot if you need to. How does this bearish territory type work? It will work like this. If I know that the stronger weakness is still in play, I may say to myself, JSong, it could be dangerous to take a short right now because I'm here now. Maybe I was in a short here, but I got to worry because there's a health. I may want to consider minimizing my position. If I'm in a short, I consider waiting. So I'll look at the previous flat. This is why you've heard me talk a lot about this in like a chart. Sometimes I'll just pull up the flat. You don't know why I'm drawing that flat. I'm drawing that flat because I'm looking for more confirmation of weakness. Here's a great example. Price moves underneath and builds on the top. Remember, this is a 5-second chart and it still abides by the principles that we understand from our art. It's very accurate, right? So we can see price even that breaking and trying to hit this top and then finally coming down. That would have been weakness number 4. Okay. We'll get to that in just a second. We can also see that price moving up is hitting sword cut and rejecting off. And that's something bearish. Okay, that's something bearish. If at this time we had moved into the weakness with high volume at that bar on the up move, the up bars during this local uptrend, I'd be thinking very bearish at that moment right here, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So we see this time and we can use that. But the best thing we can do if we have this type of health is locate event line. Event line is a principle, and I'll pull up a live chart to show you guys this principle because this isn't the best example. And I'll pull up a live chart. Somebody name me a crypto, any crypto. Okay, we'll pull up any crypto. Oh, you know what? Here's another example. Here, okay, I'll do this one. I got a perfect example on the board. It's not that one. Here, sorry, I hit the wrong button. XY. This is the Australian dollar. This is a perfect example. It's probably the perfect example for this. This is a 2-hour chart. This is somewhat live. Okay, and by live, this is today, I think. This is a 2-hour chart. So we have a weakness that enters here. The first thing we have to do is check for event line. Event line is the last event that happens before weakness. So it can be drawn like the following. We have special tutorials on with that encompass event line, but it's great practice. I will draw the energy centers here and here. So I have these energy centers here and local weakness came in, right? So the uptrend is broken. Right? The uptrend is broken. The last event was along this angle. And this would be the event line. Event line. Okay. If I duplicate this angle, I now get the event line phantom. So I can duplicate it and bring it down to the lowest energy center in between those areas. So the lowest energy center in between those areas was actually this one right there. So I take this angle and I bring it up. The first place price should fall is there. Guys, I just pulled this up for you live right now. Okay, and I have wick match. So if you got wick match, use your wick match. Okay, by wick match, like you could play it right there, but you can also, if the wicks line up, use the wick match. So the first place price is supposed to fall after this weakness is exactly here. So how much money is to be made in this trade? Very little. But it is a sign of weakness when prices generally build below though, and the tops are still in play. When the tops stop being in play and prices responding, be careful. In this example, we can see event line was hit exactly, and then we get a move right back up. So we have to be very careful to take long shorts. We're talking short shorts only, guys. I'm talking so shorts that they cut into your booty. That kind of, all right, some of you guys know, I know, what was it, at the beach? Yeah, Peter, is that you at the beach I saw? No? Maybe it was Camino. I'm telling you guys, you need to get longer shorts. But we now pay attention to event line all the time because it lets us know where the support is supposed to still be in. Okay? And sometimes that support is strong and you just got to wait for here, and you have to have solid reasons to take the next trade. Pay attention. So that's an example of event line. Live. Event line. If you're not using event line, you're missing out. Okay, this is example. So event line is the last thing that's supposed to happen. Let me see if I can find you now a bearish example of event line. We'll use what you said, XLM, right? So we'll pull up XLM and I'll pull up crypto.com. Okay, we'll find a bearish example of event line. So price moves, I gotta use when price moves into health. Yeah. Okay, here's good. Here's probably one going to be here. I'll draw this one professionally now. So I have a down move from here to here. Make the line real big so you guys can see it. So I have a down move. Is that not big enough? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I got a down move from here to here. We'll extend it out. And then we have a local health. All right? Local health. Do we agree? This is a local health that came into market? Yeah? What do you guys think? What is the first thing we have to be worried about, even if price is in health? What's the first thing? I just gave you the answer. In this case, there's two answers. Let's do it live. Come on. It starts with an E. What is the first thing we got to be concerned about? Are we going to the moon from here? This is a live chart of XLM on a 2-hour. Are we going to the moon? Yes or no? Yes, we have to draw the event line. That's great. Good job. So we got these smaller energy centers that are here in this area. It'd be here. And then we got one here. Oops. We got a right there. Okay. Where else do we have an energy center? Yeah, that's going to be something we're going to look for. So this is the first thing we got to look for. But there's two ways we can interpret this data. Okay, and I'm going to show you the one I'm more concerned with. So what we would want to do, at a very least, a minimum, we'd want to draw the event line. So we draw this event line. I'll even label it for you, event line. Okay, got it? Now, what do we do with that event line? What's the next thing I do with it? Come on. We duplicate it and bring it into the top. Okay, I'm just going to label this. I'm going to put this like that on top. So now I have event line here. So how far am I supposed to go after the health comes in before I get knocked down? Here to here. Here to here. So why do we see price go up and come right back down? Because the event line's in play, baby. Event line is in play. Does this make sense so far? You guys with me? Okay. What do we really need for price to be healthy next? If we were examining a price like this is again XLM on a 1-hour chart. What is it? Think, my friends, think. Use that brain that God gave you. Okay, we could DP the event line. That might be something worth looking at, and that's basically duplicate this oscillation. But just say we're new. We don't know that yet, and all they have is these kind of lines. What should I be thinking to myself next? Nope. There's another one. There is another event line which we'll talk about in just a moment. The answer is, I'm going to go a little fast in the interest of time. The answer is look for another health. Good job. Somebody drew it right there. Good job. You'd want to look for another health. So this would be another health appearing first. Okay. So it'd be health 1, health 2. The problem with this one is that we have this large double bottom now. As we're in these areas, we can think about this a little bit different. We may also view and observe that it lines up with the past. So we might be thinking flat. If event line is also flat, we can label this like this: event line, or EV, dot or slash flat. So we know that two things are going on. Okay, I'm going to put this, and I'm going to label this on the bottom. What should I do if this is an event line? That's right, we duplicate it and it becomes a phantom, and we move it to the top. So now I can think to myself, I may have to get above there before XLM is probably going to go up next. So locally we're left with something that looks like this. Does this make sense? Okay. So we have this health, this local health, prices coming in, and resistance here. Did we get into health yet? The next health? No, we didn't. And this health is only enough to stop us and slow us down. Okay. We could break apart that move on XLM, but that's not for the purpose of today. We got a tutorial. These are examples of event line and advanced event line. Okay. I'll put this as text. More examples of event line / advanced event line. I will upload a folder with these images for today's tutorial, and you guys can save the images to your phone. Okay, let's go back. Yes, this video is recorded right now. Okay. Now, so here we are. We're left with this move down into health. So if all I was left with, and what I'll do is I'll do this. Yeah. Let me just find the exact area. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. If I had a local health that was, and I could say prices in health, we know that larger weaknesses. And one of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate, if this is health, I'm going to calculate the last event line. In this example, the event line would have been at this, and I'll try not to, I'll just leave it at so you guys remember the larger weakness. Okay, but this is how we can use these confirmations for us, just using a pencil, you and your brain. Here's the smaller energy centers, and here's the event line. It's something like, that's probably way too sharp. There we go. You would place it here, and this is where your next health is. So if I'm like, JSong, we moved into health, and I say, but you know, that larger weakness is still in play. You say, I want to wait to make a decision. When do we wait? We wait here to there, right there. That's where you wait. You can take action there and start thinking about going up again. You can start doing your buy trades. Until then, you are not safe, because all you did was break out of a local health and an accelerated one by that, since we're cutting to the top. But that's even more advanced, so we're not going to go that far. All right. So this one would be a no-go for bullish trades. Again, there's a lot of people, you guys are buying bottoms thinking they're the bottom, and they're not the bottom, and you're not drawing your event lines, and you're not playing safe. And you could be playing a lot more safer with a lot of your cryptos. Okay. This is a 5-second chart. All right. I'm trying to catch a lot of this stuff so you have the knowledge of how to recreate this art. Okay. Example, event line, 5-second chart. You're like, why do you keep saying it's 5 seconds? Because people are just showing up, and you guys are not enough amazed that you can do this stuff on the smallest time frame, because it is really the secrets of how to just understand price, event line, and keep you safe. The goal is not get rich quick. It's to preserve capital, to read. Once you know how to read, then you can navigate a lot more effectively your own wealth, your own trades. All right, let's go back. Okay. So now we're left with something like this. Let me see if I have a better image of this one. Yeah, we'll continue using this one. So now we understood that this was very dangerous, and we can now have a way to start confirming these delay territories. So what do we do? How can we continue the trade? Then should I trade? One of the things we're going to be looking for is the flats. That's one way we can continue the trade. If it was this trade here, and we see event line, and we see that we're in a delay territory, okay, and I'm in health, I can wait till above there, and I can just wait for it below the flat. That's one way we can do this. If it was this example from the AXY, which is the Australian, and I say, hey, event line's here, but there's bearishness, but we're bouncing on the event line, I can wait for the flat. In this example, the flat would have been here across the board. Did that trade trigger the next short? No, it did not. There's not another trade that was triggered on this one. So this is the stuff that's going to keep you safe, using event line to help you. But not just event line, but the actual principles that are associated with event line. So in this case, it would have been flat. Okay. Trades are safer here for bearish shorts. And until then, it's a no-go. Okay, it's a no-go. No more shorting. You bounced on event line. Did event line break? No, it did not. It's holding. Or the event line is still holding. And you hit twice. So you got to wait now. Keep you safe. Okay. I'll put this word, safe. Safer area. Okay, we're going. Let's go back now to our images. Weakness triggers, number 4. Price enters a weak area, flat B. Now, this is just that local flat that we're only using for as a temporary placeholder as part of event line's power. Okay, event line is, event line's here. We got this angle. The event line is this angle. We draw it, we duplicate it up, and we're going to wait for, in case it comes down, for confirmation that the bull move should be continuing below that flat, whatever the last previous low is. That's how we're going to do that. Draw previous strategies. Draw previous lows / core lows. Wait for price to move below these areas to confirm further weakness / bearish entries. Next, when that weaknesses appear, here we got smaller structures underneath in that area. And then I wrote this. Rejection of sword cut into this area. Strong volume on the up move into weakness in the background. Bearish confirmation. We are waiting for confirmation to enter into this trade, but there's also a warning. Little profit available before support. If I was in a trade like this, how much money is on the table before things can get really bad for me? Very little. Why? Because the flat was overall in this area. That larger flat we drew. In the core, remember, it should be just a little bit higher. I don't know how it got raised. It should be somewhere right about here where the noise of that arc is, and this other area. So if I wanted to, I can raise that flat. And that flat tells me that there's very little money to be made from here to here. Very little. So I wrote that. And you guys, by drawing your art, you can see how much money is available before you hit the big stuff, before you hit the major warnings. We think of trading as if we're on a sea, but it's more like being in the middle of a busy mall on Black Friday in the 1990s, and everyone is bumping into you, and you got to get to that destination, but you got to bump into all this stuff. You have to go through a lot of stuff just to get to your destination. Best strategies: take smaller positions, wait for next weakness below support. Okay, this is So I got a question in a private message from a participant. They said, wouldn't it be better to do, or can we do like a BTC live? As I mentioned in the beginning, my goals for these sessions is to break apart step by step the type of thinking in slow motion. I love board games, but dive and ChartRoom is often like the difference between a board game and a video game. A video game, you don't have time to pause and think. In a moment like this, you can pause, you can think, you can read it step by step. We can use those knowledge and tactics going forward. So I won't be using this as live, but this was today, but I can't write all of this today. I do that during ChartRoom. I do that live stuff during ChartRoom, not so quick, but I won't be able to do 5 seconds and label everything, because by that time 5 seconds moves really fast. But we can examine this type of chart or another type of chart and in slow motion go over this data. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this the way I am for these type of advanced tutorials. So therefore, at this moment, we would draw the last flat we had. In this case, I put this arrow just to indicate that we're looking from the past, and there was our flat. It's somewhere in this area. So we're going to draw that. That means the next trade is the main one. Very little profits here. In fact, I probably wouldn't take this trade. If I added to my position here, it's really dangerous because you can bounce out real quickly. It's safer sometimes just to get out of that zone underneath the bigger area, which is the flat in this case. I wrote this. Weakness number 5. Price entered this area. Flat A has been broken. Best strategy, short positions only. Exit bullish positions. Draw a larger target system for possible targets. So if we were trying to calculate how far we would go, we can do target system from the past or some other reason to trade where we're going to trade. Now, I didn't draw a target down here. I just labeled all of this, okay, for you guys. But if that would have been a nice short you could done, and then you can exit when you have health or your local healths are broken here. We're going to talk about some of the exits in just a moment in the next charts, but let's talk about just this. So let's recap so far. Weakness 1, weakness 2, weakness 3, weakness 4, weakness 5. You can read, my friends, in slow motion. And I'm so proud of you guys who are catching the weaknesses when you're drawing along with my charts. You can read the dangers, the risks, the warnings in slow motion. Now let's go over into some of the health type stuff and finish our final weaknesses before we go to the last parts of these charts. Okay. We have this parabolic curve that started forming because the foundational area was a little bit bowed. I wrote this once we had a new low down here. I wrote this. Slight parabolic curve can be seen. Foundational parabolic downline or down angle could be drawn, could be created. Price should be above this area to have a proper bullish health. The other thing you need to know is that the foundational parabolic area A, you can't label parabolics. You can draw these little text notes. But foundational parabolic level A out here, it levels out here, okay? So parabolic level A levels out here. And parabolics, they come down on these curves, right? So I did it in yellow. You can see the yellow color, unless you're colorblind. I did it here in yellow. It levels to a flat. And where that flat was, I drew a flat. So I did it here, see? P flat. I could draw it blue, but it's in the flat family. So I just did it blue because blue shows up better on a white background. So it levels out somewhere here, and that means that we can draw a health somewhere above there, waiting for price to get to that area. We can draw, and I can see, hey, maybe above here price is healthy. So that's something we could draw. And that's something that we could have drawn somewhere after the down move. So in hindsight, you can draw that. Sometimes some of you guys are really good. You can draw them really quickly in the beginning. Okay, good job. I drew this here, and I moved the health, and I put this weight symbol. It's a weight marker. It's bullish. It says, hey, pay attention now. Wait until we get to health up here. I just put a little emoji in a little circle. It's above the EV phantom, and it's above the parabolic curve. So when price comes down here, it's a little bit more safer, and these can continue out. By the way, the EV phantom now continues. I put EV continued, and I continue it, and you can see later on that it provides a very interesting resistance. The bullish marker for health, I slid down the track. It matches here. Also, where the flat came in from a previous flat, remember the flat area A, which was this flat, back here, way back here, it continued all the way out to here. And you can see that both the parabolic and the flat are on top, plus the EV phantom. What do we call this when two or more come together in my name? No, I'm sorry. What do we call it when the flat and the parabolic and the EV come together in one area? What do we call that area? Does anybody remember? Vortex. Write it down in your notes. I didn't include it on this page. Vortexes are where price and all the lines meet together. Not all the lines, but a lot of lines meet together. Especially when price comes up into those pockets and rejects into a local weakness. In this case, we have an up move that is something like this in this area. And price moves into that weakness after rejecting right in that pocket. Again, this is a 5-second chart. That's phenomenal because these principles work. Okay, they work for you, and with a simple pen, your art, or a printer, you guys can see this stuff and fly off the seat of your pants without advanced indicators or anything. Just your noggin. And that's going to serve you the best well in the rest of your life when you're ultra rich. So we have a simple vortex and price rejecting. Now we're going to talk about that weakness in just a little bit, but let's continue finishing this part. So we leveled out the parabolic. We continued the phantom. We continued the flat. Price entered another weak, that last weakness here, and now we come down. Finally, we start going up after a local health. There may have been a local health. We can draw a straight from here to here. I didn't draw it, but it's somewhere in this area. The foundational area, we just gave it a simple label, area number C. I said this foundational up move during weakness is the type of move that should be hunted, searched for, and taken advantage of. In my seminars in lesson number 1, in my Sword Method 6.0 series, I always say, and I think 5.0 series, you want to hunt the up move in downtrends. In downtrends, you want to hunt the up move for the next down continuation. And in a downtrend, you're using that up move for the down move continuations. In an uptrend, always look to hunt the down move for further bullish opportunities. It sounds simple, but it's something you guys got to remember. In a bearish move, down move, search and hunt the up moves for further bearish opportunities. Quite simple, right? Let's do it. We talk about it all the time in ChartRoom. In slow motion, this is a simple thing. It's a very simple lesson. Okay? The hungry bear stands on the river looking for the fish swimming the wrong direction. If this is our down move and the foundational move is still in play, by note of the parabolic. If the down move is still in play, you're hunting these, you're looking for them, and you're waiting for them. You're anticipating them. You're watching them actively as long as the down move is still in play. And that's the next notation. As long as the down move, the larger foundational down move is still in play. And again, in a bullish time, as long as the larger foundational up move is still in play. Okay, and that's not moves, it's move. All right, good. I'm making sure that you guys have a detailed record of some of these most important things. Simple lessons. I have a keynote on my first of these, like the presentation, the official presentation somewhere on my iPad, but you guys know from lesson 1. But this is a type of advanced tutorial / simple tutorial in some ways. Okay, because I'm trying to make it really basic, labeling all my thoughts behind a simple move. Okay, simple moves. So we got many weaknesses. We're hunting this up. We can see price going up, and then we're going to see that. But what else should we be looking for on this one? This up move during weaknesses is the type of move that should be hunted, searched for, and taken advantage of. This is the fish swimming the wrong direction. Weakness is in the background, and if price moves into these areas with high volume in the background on the up bar, up move, up local trend, then look for price to fall. I'll say the last part. If we move into that weakness if price moves into these areas of weakness with high volume in the background on the up bar, up move, uptrend, the local trend, look for price to fall. Let's look at the volume as we go on the up move. That would have been interesting. The other part of interesting is we had weaknesses, right? Here, one of the best things we can do is have these moves on high volume into weaknesses. So if you see high volume at the tops and high volume into those areas, look for that move to go down. Let's start with here. Locally, we have volume that looks something like this. That we can see the volume starting to peak quite high on these up moves, up bars, but we continue down to the right and in here. So we're left with something like that. It's not the worst, not the best volume, but something like that. Let's turn these from a peak, and we'll make them histograms so you guys can see it. Looks something like this. I'm going to make them really big by changing up the bar width, and now you're left with something like this. So we can see these stronger looking peaks on the up moves into weakness. Here's another strong example. We have ultra high volume on the up bars, up moves, uptrend. We can see the volume starting to peak and come into the weakness. With that in the background, that's a sign that there's professional selling. Or in this case, since it's a 5-second chart, it's probably some regular retail people who are just taking profits at the top. Okay, but that's more or less how it looks. Okay, so that's an example. Now let's go on further, because today's not a full volume tutorial. I usually reserve those for Wednesdays, but today in our special session I'm continuing. So levels out, we got weakness. Let's continue the next image. Okay, so as the time goes on, we can draw and see that leveled out parabolic now is two separate events. The flat goes its own way and the event line comes its own way, and the event line is now no longer just an event line but part of round structure. We can see this larger round structure and the event line played out. They met with the flat parabolic. It met with the flat area A. Now round structure, which means we got to pay attention to that area, right? Anytime you see large round structures, you're going to pay attention. And we are left with something that looks like this nice juicy round structure here. Okay, right there. Good. So we're left with the round structure from the past and this round structure here. Okay, and we continue those along that track and that angle, which is somewhere now there. So that's going to be something of note. And let me see how I can denote this. I'll make this like a real big rectangle for you guys. Crypto and crayons, guys. Crypto and crayons. We continue those energy centers, looking for the health that we're waiting for, and we're only taking bearish positions while the down move is in play. Here, local health appears. Warning, little profit available for a bullish trade because the EV phantom is just slightly higher than the angle. And the flat is right here, but a local trade nonetheless. At this point is when you want to be careful staying in bearish positions because health is appearing and big large structure health is starting to appear. So you got to be careful. You'd want to see health, exit some bullish. Okay, next let's take a look at what other observations I made on this one so you guys can do the same. I wrote down this about the parabolic flat. Just revisiting the parabolic flat in gray here. Great importance should always be placed on these areas, especially when there's confirmation of rejection at that area. So here's the parabolic. It leveled out somewhere here, and we rejected strong. So we got to really pay attention to where it levels off. The parabolic flat right here, P flat. And then the larger flat up there, the old flat, remember, just still flat A is somewhere. So now we're left with a range where somewhere above here is health, and somewhere above here is resistance. Or somewhere right there is resistance. So look for large volume and round structure as price moves into larger health. This may be a sign of professional accumulation and large players entering. What do I mean by that part? If we're going to move into the health, did anybody notice the large round structures that was forming here? Let's draw. Can anybody tell me where the larger round structures we see? Go ahead and draw it on my screen. Simple shapes that anyone can do. Where's the round structure, guys, into the health? Nobody? So these are our local healths. Here is the round structure. I'm going to draw it for you. Did you see it? It's into this health. Round structure. Got it? Look for round structures into these healths above the parabolic flats. How does that work practically? We talk about USDT.D all the time, right? And this is a great example. Okay, I'm going to flip this upside down. Okay, smaller energy centers. And you can see price sitting in those pockets. This is the type of example of larger round structure. One of the first things we do, draw event line, and there you go. It's simple as that. Okay, those kinds of things. Round structures. If we go and draw these kinds of parabolics, we are left with simple things that we may not have saw before. Many times you're left with larger moves into health with a round structure in the background. Let me show you what I mean. Pay attention to the larger story. If I round into those healths, generally there's a consensus of traders that are willing to buy. This is in those areas. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going straight up. You do have to calculate for everything. And then I flip this chart upside down, by the way. So you are gonna have to calculate for a lot of things. But I'm just letting you guys know, when you see those kinds of things, pay attention. It's not the end all be all, and you got to watch carefully if your lines really are broken or not, and pay attention to flats. In this case, USDT.D is stuck here, right? So it should be somewhere in this area for a little bit. But then you'll know the next moves here. I don't want to save this image because it's upside down. I don't want to confuse you guys. So I'm going to flip it back up the way it is. Okay, so large round structure. Or sorry, there's your parabolic. And round structure. Overall. Here it is, the round structure. Pay attention. Okay, because sometimes that happens. Don't keep your eyes off of the larger move, which is the flat. You get above there, you have more confirmation. Watch your event lines. We already bounced on event line. It's just that simple. Okay. Here's your weakness. When this goes down, cryptos go up. When this goes up, cryptos come down. Price may come down over the next 7 days. If it makes a decision here, you know that the markets are going to crash, because when this goes up, cryptos come down. The next big crash, because that's a big move. Or big move. But that's part of something larger and another story for another day. Larger parabolic flattens out. We move into the three healths. Health number 1, health number 2, health number 3 here. Let's talk about these three healths. The first health that I wrote down about these areas is local bullish health appears, little profit available. If you have little profit before you're going to come down, don't take the trade. It's better just to use that as your confirmation. In Sword Method Left version 1.0, I would always say this all the time. Price is the best indicator of itself. And I still stand by that today. If I say that here, I'm not going to use this to take a trade, but I will use it to tell me something's happening. I don't use every one of these healths to take a trade. I use it to let me know when things are getting dangerous, when I need to exit my profits, when I need to get in the trade, when I need to pay attention. Because it's saying, hey, pay attention to the bullishness. Bullishness is starting to come down. In every boxing match, it's not just one knock and somebody goes down. Often. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time, it's a back and forth battle. With price, it's the same thing. Here we have a health. There we have a health. And there we have a health. Okay, let's talk about this last health. All right, here's what I wrote. Local health area 3. Local health number 3. Local bullish health appears. This is the larger health in this area. Strategies. Wait for accelerated adjustment line weaknesses to exit. So if I'm in a trade here and I use this as my entry, the worst is behind me. What was the worst? Possibly the flats. The flats were probably my biggest opponent at this area. So when I'm in these areas, it's more safer to take a buy. Or I would like to buy. Oftentimes in dive session, people say, JSong, where would you enter? Where would you? And most of the time, I don't give people the answer they want to hear. I'll say, wait, pay a higher price. If people say, but it's the bottom, it could be the bottom. I like to wait for confirmation many times. That's a proper approach. You could try to catch these bottoms if you have a way to catch them. Maybe you have your local moves, but there's always moves within moves within moves within moves. This is a 5-second chart, guys. And there's moves within moves, and these moves are part of other moves. Unless you are watching the entire board, you're probably not ready to trade a 5-second chart, but you could use it to read what's happening locally. If you're trying to take those 5-second charts, you need to have done your homework on 15-minute and 1-hour charts at least. And then you should always take a top-down approach anyway, which means you're starting at weekly charts, maybe even monthly to weekly. I do monthly, 2-week. Often in dive, I'll do a 2-week and a 1-week. And then I go to daily. Or actually, I go to 3 days, and then I go to a daily chart. From a daily, you go to a 12-hour, which is cutting the times in half. From a 12 to 6, do those charts. Then do a 3-hour chart. Then do a 1-hour chart. Then you're going to do your 30-minute chart. From a 30, then you go down, and so forth and so on. Until then you get to 5 seconds. So you should be learning that these bigger moves are part of other things happening. Because sometimes you won't be able to explain why price does something it does. How do you do then? Charts within charts within charts. Top down only. Okay, we'll do one example. Do you guys want me to do one example, or do you want me to just end this? Okay, let me know in the chat. Put it, say, give me one live example or something like that. And we'll do something live right now. All right, finally, this is the new foundational line. I labeled it FBAAL. So foundational line, area B. I already have A in the past, so this is going to be my new foundational line B. It's something like, this is my foundational line. Oh, it says D. It should actually say D, not B, because this is part of this D move. Okay, and this is the AAL of this. Let me just fix that real quick. D. Okay. Good. So I have this foundational line here that started it all now. And I got to be thinking only bullish, and I may be able to take the trade here. If it's below here, I got to get out. Too much danger. I can use this to get maximum profits. When I'm getting below there, I got to exit. And so I put an exit here. Bullish exit triggered. So if I was in this trade, it's here when things start going wrong. And I have to be realistic about that. I may have a reason to get in the trade or even take a bearish trade to the target if I was bearish trading. But for right now, I've only calculated for bullishness. I have to be very careful trying to ride this longer than it should be. Also, I will note that a professional I once heard in a seminar many years ago when I was a young boy, he said that the biggest problem with traders is that they stay in too long and they get out too early. Using foundational areas can help give you a semblance of when you should be looking to exit. Who has the discipline to exit at these moves? If you don't, you're probably over trading, or you need to learn some discipline. Because if I'll just wait till the larger foundational area is broken, that's something also you can do. Okay, you could just wait for that larger one to be broken if your tolerance. It cuts into your profits if you go into weakness, but you're already up in the money. Okay, so you can use those accelerated adjustment lines just like we did today multiple times. We did a lot of these multiple accelerated adjustment lines. See, these ones right here. To let us know the first clues of weaknesses. And you guys even did a live, you guys showed me that other one right here. That would have been the first signs of weaknesses getting it. So this is how you can get out of the party early and stay in long if you wanted to. In this case, price came down to the swing target based on the target systems. Okay, this is the target system that we did today. I'll show you the image. It's here. Okay, so this is the target system that you guys can apply. Okay, and I'll give you, let me put a full screen so you guys have this. Okay, this is me measuring from the entire area. This is a new type of target system that you guys can do if you want. It's the same target system. It is applied by using the fixed range volume profile, just like we normally do. It's standard. It's in your indicators. Okay. So if I wanted to do a fixed range target profile from this area, okay, I can simply measure the bottom to the top, but I can also measure a more appropriate oscillation. So this is something new that we're not yet doing in Dive. Okay, so I can click this area, foundational area, and I can just measure the overall area up until the tops. Okay, it's going to measure automatically the bottom and the top for me just by going time. And I have two areas where I can be looking. Delta, which is the highest peaks. And then you can look at the dip, which is here, which is where we do our standard targets. And then we can use swing targets. Swing targets are the areas between our peaks. We have lessons on this in our lessons page if you guys want more information about these ones. Here, our standard target would be this area right there. And we make it those colors. Those haven't changed. And then the delta is here. Okay. Delta is often an area that acts like resistance for us. Okay. If I were to try to measure just a little bit to the previous peak, the delta is still the same. It would have let me know that, hey, probably we're going to reject here. If I were to go to the highest peak, it may have even given me a similar answer. See? Delta. Price rejects once, price rejects twice. Price is now trying to close below underneath here a few moments ago. This is alive. Okay, what else? Here's our lower. Our next delta is more of a range here. And then we like swing target, which is pink for us. It's sorry, standard target is here. Delta target is going to be here. And we'll just do that in blue. And then our swing target is halfway between these areas. So it looks like this. I'll show you a highlighter. The highest peak, the halfway point. In this case, it's right about there. So we'd be seeing that target for swing target is just slightly above our standard target. And this is how you guys can do target system. Oh, actually, hold on. Delta. Yeah. It's right about there. Already did it for you guys. So about right there. Good. And I do these swing targets in this color, pink. Flats. So these are ideal places we would be looking if price were to fall. Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment. This is an example. Let's label these so you guys can do your own. Okay. Swing target. And then I'm going to give you this. Halfway point between deltas. Okay, I didn't prepare this for you guys, so I do apologize. Okay, and I'll just make that like that for right now. And I'm going to give this a border. Okay, so halfway point between deltas, that's going to be your swing targets. This is going to be our delta target, and this is going to be a delta target. And this is our standard target. Okay, just a quick reference guide for you guys to have as an example of these kinds of things. Okay, how that works. Swing target is always halfway. Let's go back to our standard chart that we were looking at from our images. You guys got it? Okay, so when I measure the entire oscillation, the delta is about right here. The other delta is up here. So we're looking those areas. Our standard target is going to be the lowest ones here. It's there. And then the swing target is halfway between the deltas, which is right about where swing target is, more towards the high side. So if we were drawing them, it's about right here. And that's exactly where price goes. I've had most experience with the swing target and delta, and swing targets and the standard target, why we name it target system. Okay, so price bounces there. Foundational line B is still in play. Foundational line B, AAL is still in play. This is this up. Okay, this is the acceleration of this foundational line B here. I think that's what I end up labeling it. Yeah, that's more appropriate. So you guys will have access to this image as well. And that's all I got for you for that one. Let me take a look at the chat. Joanna says more examples. Arshad, more examples. There's only 2 people. We can end it right here if you want. I was supposed to be only for 2 hours. I do got 10 more minutes. I'll use that time. Okay. Let's take a look at something. Let's see. Okay. Let's take a look at this area. This is a good one. This is going to be a good one. I got a lot of noise, so what I'm going to be doing, you can barely see it. I'm going to go to a higher time frame. I'm going to go to a 10 and a 30 second, okay? If I can do this on a 10, see, I still got a lot of noise. Let's go to a 30 second. Basically minimize how many candles I got. There we go. We got something better. Let's do this area and see if we can break this apart. So this is just what from earlier today. Let's throw some energy centers here. What shapes do we notice going on here as part of our energy centers? What shapes do we notice? I can draw these traits, but what shapes do I know? I got large round structure, right? We got large round structure into the weakness area. Where's the weakness area? Somebody show me the weakness area. Let's draw it together. Come on. That is right there. That's your weakness area. Good job. That's price. That's when we got to be thinking the foundational line is broken. If I was giving this a label, I can call this foundational.A. Okay. Do I have any accelerated adjustments in here to show me weakness in real time within that oscillation? And by oscillation, I mean if that's our key, then that's our top. So somewhere between this area, do we have evidence that price is slowing down? Somebody tell me. Where? There it is. Good job. Somebody drew it. You guys drew the accelerated adjustment line. It is here. There. If you wanted to, you can make them dotted if you wanted to, but we're going to give it a label. I'm going to type in F dot A dot AAL, accelerated adjustment line. Okay. And I'll put this on the bottom and somewhere in the center. So I know now that when things slow down here, I'm seeing weakness in real time. Okay. So we got weakness, weakness. All right. If I go into this weakness, what I got to be thinking about? I got to be thinking about the last events that happened. Now this would have been the last event here, and it would have been something like that. Okay, that's not the right angle. I'm trying to use a highlighter so I can be very general with you guys. It'd have been something like that. There we go. And we got to duplicate that and place that at the bottom lowest energy center between that area. It's here. Okay. So price bounces, or price comes in and shows another sign of weakness, but comes to the top side of it. So the foundational area is actually broken. This is actually, therefore, another weakness right there. And then we reject on the underside of the AA of the event line. So if I was going to label this professionally, I could do something simply like this. Okay, I'm going to give this a different color. Let's give it a dashed. And I'm going to put event line. Let's put it on the right side high. Right top. Duplicate it on the low side. And now I see price doing what? So what's happening here at this point right there? What's happening right there, guys? Okay, quickly. Is this good to stop here or bad to stop here? What do you think? Bad. Okay. What is that a sign of? Yeah, it's a sign of weakness. It may not mean going right up, but it's definitely not a good sign. Further things we could do on smaller time frames, which I'm not going to, guys, because we're already down to a darn 30-second chart. But if we wanted to, we can draw and hunt that local move, which looks like that. Okay, something like this. You could draw the up move and look for another weakness. But that's really cutting it on a 30-second chart, guys. At that time, we got to be careful. If we're responding, rejecting off of here, let's pay attention now to the flat. So it's at this point we're going to really pay attention to our flat. We're going to say, okay, if we're going to be bullish again, we need to get out of this mess. And just say we were bullish. Some of the actions that we should have been taking, therefore, if we were bullish, was what? I got to be waiting for, I should be doing what here at this point, if I was bullish at this point? Do I take a short to the downside? What do I do here at this point, 4:14 p.m.? Participate, guys. De-risking, that's a perfect way to say it. We minimize some of our bullish positions. We may consider licking the ice cream. We could probably buy back in, but we have to have reasons to. Okay, foundational area is still going strong. It's somewhere about between here and here. So we may want to, we could see that in that, at that time, we could actually see that in real time. We could be like, guys, what are we going to do here? I know we should buy back cheaper if we can, or at a low, or a pullback, or something. But maybe let's consider taking some profit, de-risking. I may not want to short this. Why? Because the bullish foundational area is still in. I don't want to short until when? Until there. unless I have a proper or appropriate reason to. Okay, so I could do something like this. I'm going to put that little emoji here. I'm going to put the little hand that says, and we're going to make him, we can make him black. We'll keep it gender neutral here, right? I'll just make him white, just cover all the grounds for, do you guys care about that stuff? I don't know. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we got to be careful taking shorts. I'm just trying to make you smile, guys. It's just a joke. It's okay. Look, did he just say a racist joke? No, I did not. Okay, so we wait underneath these kinds of areas to be a little bit safer. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we can look higher for bullish entries, which is, about right there to be safer. This would be another example of how to navigate something like this in real time. Okay, what else do we observe about this chart? We observe that the flat on the bottom seems to be active. So let's draw that. So that means we got to move this a little bit lower, probably to here, or if it goes up, we're going to be looking at two separate events. So we'd be looking at weakness under there and the weakness here. So going forward, let's continue. These come down the track, this gets extended out, and so forth and so on. See, now we have two separate events. Make sense so far? All right, we're doing good. Okay, so at this moment, a weakness starts entering the field in the board. Let's check the volume. We got the makings of a large round structure. Do we have high volume overall on this up move? In other words, if I look in the volume, am I going to see it rising, particularly above here and here? And if so, of those relationships, we want to have a decreasing relationship in volume, meaning the bears are winning for that moment. Okay, so move into here with background volume in the background. So what are we at right now so far? We are at this area of weakness. Let's pull up the volume. See if I can tell on a small time frame like this. Little volume, the volume's very down here. We have high volume here on the down bar, but then we move back up and we move into weakness. So I'm not going to put a lot of weight on that volume here. I will say we had a lot of volume here, and that was part of the health, probably when we first came to the health. So overall, there's still a lot of health that I got to be a little bit cautious of. I wouldn't want to be thinking to trade this very long term. So we have all this high volume, but it's into the right and up. So I'm going to say I got to be a little bit careful trying to trade the down move very long at this moment. Okay, I got to have a better reason. There's still too much fighting here. I'll put a lot of weight at the flat. That's probably something I'm going to be looking for. And then the other weight I'd probably put in here. See who's fighting, see who's winning, and then continue from there. So that's how we do this. In this case, the flat fell into weakness. So this is going to be our next weakness triggered. Good. So here's our weakness triggered, which was this one. That was that hand. Okay. And then I didn't have to draw that. We could just move it on the track. Okay. So that's weakness. There's weakness. This is where we exit first. This is where we exit again. This is where we want to stop being in the trade here completely. Okay. And I'll draw a little text box for us. Okay, I'm going to put a text note. Oh no, I'm going to put a call out. I like that word Camino used, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that word. And I'm going to we're going to put a gray background. And the text, I'm going to say, consider de-risking. De-risking. Okay, good. And then here we're going to put another more weakness. Weakness number 3. At weakness number 3, this is the main weakness. Main weakness. Consider shorting. Okay, so this is where we think to ourselves, we got to be thinking bearish at this point. Okay, but we got to use caution because of the volume at this area right there. Use caution. Oops, not that one. The flat. Use caution in this area. High volume into health. High volume into bullish health indicates a fight at the flat. Okay, and we do get one more bounce at the flat to confirm that. There was the flat bounce. It was here. And I need to make this background yellow. This confirmed our theory. this is how we would want to use this kind of stuff. This is similar to many examples just this past week in our method. I told for certain cryptos there was too much fight in them, and I said, well, what's those flats? So this would be information of the fight. So this is why we got to be careful just shorting stuff right away. Wait till the foundational area broken. This one is the main weakness, foundational area, and what was it? Foundational A, right? Yep, broken. Foundational area A, broken. Okay, so this is where we find ourselves safer to take the short, right here. Okay, any questions how this works so far? Just a basic reading, slow motion. When I designed sword method, it was to try to find cup and handle, whether upside down or regular, in slow motion. How do I find cup and handle in slow motion? What are the intricacies? What is the stuff that goes into that move? That's what I designed to try to find using this art. And I found it works. Okay, we're working it, we're using it, we're reading it. Okay, so forth and so on. Okay, there's our next foundational area. Here it's going to show some health. There's your next health. It's right here, right above there. We didn't get all the way down to our flat. By the way, want to bet if our target was going to be hit? Let's see. Let's try to do the target. We'll complete this oscillation, and I think that was the last thing I was going to do. So I'm going to just measure from here to here. And nope, no, I only want to measure the new way I'm showing you guys. We're just going to measure the stuff in the oscillation, so somewhere about right there. So that was it within the candle, so we'll use that one. Okay, there's our delta. There's our target 1. There's our target 2. There's no swing target. There's only delta, that one, and that one. So here's our swing target. Price responded really strong to the delta, which is right about the flat. So we'd really want to pay attention, therefore, to this area right there. That would have been a really easy way to say we probably should be looking to short. Okay, down until the health. We can exit here, close your trade. The swing target's not so clear, but standard target is a little bit clear. These two, 1, 2, and then the rest is real thin. 3 would have been the last one you got. The last target's down here. That's where our price went to, and that's all you got. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me see if there's anything in the volume worth noting. I saw a lot of stuff in the volume on the 5-second chart. Here's a large up bar with ultra high volume. The move is down and to the right into a local parabolic weakness. I'm not going to trust this up move. I would be thinking to myself, a little bit bearish here with that high volume on the up move down into the right. So I'd be thinking to myself, this is probably going to go down for the next few minutes or something like that, since this is a 30-minute chart. Check event line. Event line is a flat. We'd be duplicating the flat at the, and it just happens to be in the delta, which means that this area is what here? What is this area right there? Just a few moments ago. What is this area? Weakness, guys. It's weakness. Okay. So price should go down here. Let's calculate other. There's so much stuff we can calculate. After a while, you guys, it becomes second nature. Today's tutorial is not to explain everything, but to just give you guys a good understanding of how you might want to be using this art. And I will be leaving you guys with those notes so you guys can have that. Let's do one more target. Oh, we already did. We got swing target, and it was hit right now. Okay, and then target is right there. Delta is going to be below that. These are all just going to continue to the side. Price is right now at swing target. Okay, good, perfect. Do I have any questions, my friends? I will make sure that you are uploaded with the folder for these images. Okay, plus some of the extra images. Just give me a little bit of time to organize them into just the right order. Okay, and then I will make sure you guys get those. Did you have fun? Some of you guys doubted that it can even work on the smallest time frames. Who doubted? From the movie Hook. Yes. Okay, you came in late, didn't you? All right. Did I say it wrong? No, I didn't. Nope. Okay. All right. I give a big speech about all of that in the beginning when the videos are re-uploaded. Just watch it, okay? Okay. What was your other question, Lisa? It'll answer that question. So in short, the Forex room is going to be on delay. I don't trust the current exchanges that are there, but I didn't have peace the more I prayed about the options that are available for us. So I want to wait until either the next regulations come in, and then, or we're going to just move into the short-term intra Forex accounts. That's something still on the board, but I just don't feel peace about it right now in this season. So I'm going to wait until I have that peace from the Lord. The other thing that we're going to be doing, that I'm doing in some of these special sessions, and that means that I have to put the room on hold until then. But I use this moment as a special intra session. So today is basically teaching everybody these formats and how you guys can break apart these charts in slow motion using existing principles. And if it helps for many of you guys to label, just like we've done, and that's what I did before the session, I labeled a bunch of this stuff. I'm going to be doing more of that for you guys to follow along with just one. This is not for everybody. This is for people who are trying to master the system, the art. You guys are trying to master the art. You're trying to get as much into the art as possible and use it in whatever trading systems you use on any time frame, as we demonstrated today with 5-second Bitcoin charts. Okay, that's a 5-second Bitcoin chart that we can just break this down. And you guys can do this. Whatever systems you guys are using, you can use your pen and your brain and just do so good and keep safe and develop disciplines based on price moving in and out of its territories so that you guys are safe. That's my goal for these sessions, is to do advanced tutorials for those who are requiring. We may do live trades intra, but I don't know what I want to trade, because I was really happy with what I was going to be trading Forex because I can break them apart, but I'm not happy with the options and I'm not happy with the manipulation and the OTC stuff. That is really the only main ways to do it, unless we're trading the 4 and there's not always a trade on there. I'm reevaluating, pray, and we'll see what we can do. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue like I normally do, but using these moments to really drill in your brain, your mind, the art, and building the guidebook. And also special thanks to everybody here who has let me today use you as a guinea pig for my teaching, because the better I get at explaining and drawing and giving you all this stuff, the better I can do that. I am trying to give you guys more of those strategies built in to these text boxes so you can have them in real time. But it doesn't make sense for me to do it on a 5-second chart for you if you can't follow along. Does that make sense? If you don't know what's going on and I'm drawing charts and I'm just going, we got to think, and you can't slow down and think for yourself, then it's just really JSong's trading service. I'm not offering a trading service at this moment. I may, but my biggest thing is it's not going to help you as much if I'm not going to be always here to do a trading service for you. I'm not going to be here always. You guys, I'm going to be moving the format into monthly reports. So we're going to have a lot of this kind of stuff. Print it out. You'll be able to zoom in and read, because you're going to need to know on the biggest trades, the stuff that's in the background. And the best part is you'll be able to print out your own stuff so you can recreate the lines too. If your lines are not exactly like mine, you can be like, oh, maybe I found something JSong didn't know. And you're probably right. You probably found something I didn't know. But if your lines are not like mine and you're trying to be, maybe it's really good that you can follow along. You can test your work. You can draw, and then you can see how well you did. I can't wait to start sending out those monthly reports on our new upcoming website in the coming months. We're working behind the scenes with lots of this type of reports so that you guys can follow along. Again, thank you for joining us. My goal is to get you guys in your charts. You know, it's not the JSong show. It's going to be you, your millions and billions and trillions for some of you, and your knowledge. Okay, there's internet gurus. There's a lot of teachers in the world. My job was to give you guys some of this you can wrap it around your head. No one can take it away from you. Finally, I'll say this. There's something I asked the Lord for years, but I didn't ask him the right way. One day God asked me, why don't you ask me the right way? Ask me what? And I said, Lord, I didn't ask you the right way because I didn't think you would give it to me. And he said, just ask me. And I went home that day and I read in a very old book On the very first page, it says, you got to ask the Lord. And I said, oh, I should ask the Lord. And I remembered it was a confirmation that I should ask the Lord for something I was praying about. And the Lord gave me what I was praying about. He put it in my heart and he put it in my mind in a way that it's in my memory that no one can ever take it away unless I get brain damage or something. That no one can ever take away these kinds of things. You can get to a point where you're flapping your wings and no one can ever make you forget how to ride a bicycle or flap your wings. That's my job for you guys. That's why my prayer. I'll take more questions after this, but let's have a closing prayer. Father, we thank you for this session. We pray for our mind and our brain, that we can grow and flap our wings. You gave us hidden knowledge, as it were, in many things, like sciences, art, and the scripture. The Bible says that you told the disciples, I have many more things to share with you, more things than you can now bear. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will lead you and guide you in all understanding. Lord, we're going to need that understanding for where we're going. You're going to put millions and billions and trillions in our laps. What will we do with them? How will we be stewards of your wealth? Or will we squander? When Solomon was presented with the similar situation, he inherited a great people. He considered what he needed. He said, Lord, I have this great people. I ask that you would give me wisdom, discernment, judgment, that I may know how to take care of your people. For to much is given, much is required. We know this, Lord, so we will also ask a similar thing, that you give us wisdom, how to navigate, how to move, how to see. And we may not be able to predict everything, but we know that with wisdom and discretion comes prudence, discipline. And from there we cast out all greed. From there money loses its luster. We are learning our tolerances with money. We are learning our tolerance with our accounts. But we need help. So I pray that you would ingrain the art that you've given us. Put it in our minds. And help me, Lord, as well personally, so I can leave them with good guides and good instructions, hands-on, practical tips and things they can use as they're watching their cryptos move up and down and back and forth and battle each other, like giving commentary to two bears and bulls fighting, for such as the markets. And for better or for worse, it is the markets. But it's not beyond unpredictability. Since many markets in the world are based on human emotions, you've given us insight to understand the greed and the fear coming into these markets. Whatever markets so they be, you've given us wisdom and a power in our hands to start taking charge of our futures, of our financial, of our risk, of our reward, so that no longer we will be only at the mercy of internet gurus or prophetic only, because you told us things about timing. You told us how to understand the times and the seasons. You even told us biblical things, but you also said there was ways we could predict them biblically. And such many people have predicted things for end time events, or historical events, even the times of your coming. You told us. You showed them, you said, you can tell the sun and the rain in the morning and the evening. You can tell the weather, but you can't tell the times of us. And you said it in the form of a question, as if you expected them to be able to calculate. But there were those men in the past who did calculate your coming. They saw your star, the wise men, and they came. And the shepherds who heard the prophetic, and they came. So whether we come because we can calculate, or whether we come because we can prophesy, we want to be able to see and understand and interpret the signs that are before us. You've given us much resource like prophetic things. You've given us much insight like physical things such as teachers. But we want a combination of all of the above. More importantly, we want your peace and discernment in the Holy Spirit. For even if we knew price would come down, what if it comes back up? And even if we prophesy that price will come down or price will come up, what if it comes back down? For such has been the markets. And Lord, we need your Holy Spirit most of all. Do not just fill our lips with prophecy, but to give us the peace and discernment. For even if the market should go down, should we stay and hold? And even if the market should go up, should we sell? How should we respond? And to these questions, we consult you. We come to you in our prayers, each man, each woman, to discuss before you what is needed for their life. As it is, I know that in many of their hearts, you've told them to come to me, to pray and to learn. I won't always be here in this capacity, so this time is very precious with me. And I'm very honored that they have given their Saturdays or their Mondays or whatever days they come so that I can help educate them. To distract and to move away from all the distractions and all the noise, you've given us gesture and essence lines. And to calculate targets, you gave us things like target system and other things. We're grateful for every little part of the formula that creates an art that is beautiful and helps us understand what is happening in slow motion. Sharpen our skills, sharpen our eyes, and to wherever we go and whatever we apply and whatever advanced systems that we use, we'll use our eyes and ears and hands, our mind. I thank you for giving us wisdom, and that is my goal for this community on these special sessions, that their wisdom be increased and that they sharpen their skill. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys. Thank you for watching for today. Look forward to more of these special sessions, at least I think once a month going forward, and things like this in special sections of our report. Our report that's going to be released in the next few months will be a monthly type of subscription on a separate website, and it'll be printed and mailed to you. But it'll also have things like this, in addition to many of the dive quick maps that you're going to be looking for. God bless you.